So I'm going to move on to the media situation here. So again, what's the arguments around the media? The arguments around the media are that Extinction Rebellion in America has basically got a plan, and we're making arguments for that plan. We don't want to be making arguments for socialism. We don't want to be making arguments for, no dig permaculture. I mean, no dig permaculture might be great, socialism might be great, but that's not what we're doing in this particular space. If you think socialism's great, that's great. You can join, a group that's promoting socialism or whatever, and you want to have an allotment, that's great, growing your own food. But when you come into XR space, and that's the same like with XR media. So as we integrate people into XR media, what we're saying is this isn't like a media forum for you to be promoting your little, or big, political beliefs, important as they may well be. When you come into XR media space, what you're doing is you're promoting 5 or 6 key arguments for why the world is fucked and we need to do something about it. And if we don't, our children are going to die. Now, there's a 30-second version of that, a 2-minute version, and when you're making the argument to people as they come into the space, either as a local group or in national XRA, you're saying like, that's it. That's the line, as you might say. And again, you can personalize it, you can prioritize it, you can introduce and should be introducing your own testimony, I was lost and now I'm found sort of stuff. But that's it. There's no sort of big variations on the theme. And then the second arguments around the media are about why we need to appeal to middle, everyday, ordinary Midwest America, or whatever the right phrases are. I'm not American, so I'm not quite sure what the right phrases are. But what we're trying to do is get out of the environmental bubble. And again, we need to make this explicit, right? Don't euphemize over it, going, we're trying to, attract lots of people. No, we need to actually nail it, which is the environmental movement has not been able to create mass mobilization because it's in a little cultural silo bubble. It has all sorts of different ways of seeing the world, different clothes and mannerisms and cultures, which basically say, this is us, this is what we're concerned about, with the implicit implication, which is, if you're not like that, you're not welcome, right? And that's not to say like they're explicitly like prejudiced or anything, it's like largely an unconscious thing. But the point is we need to break out of that. And this is the argument, we need to break out of that silo in order to attract people, in order to create mass mobilization, in order to have tens of thousands rather than just thousands of people in Washington, in order to get the result in the same way as you do with a labour strike. If you're a union, your fundamental idea is to get loads of people into the union from that industry so that when you go on strike, you're actually effective, right? Which means working with people you don't particularly like. That's the bottom line. And you might as well put that on the byline of Extinction Rebellion America is we're working with people we don't like because we've got a bigger strategic objective, which is the most important thing in the world, which is to save the world. Okay, so what does that mean concretely? It means the argument is the people that are put in front of the camera, the people that talk to the media, the people that have magazine articles about them are ordinary people. And there's a diversity of different sorts of ordinary people, marginalised people of colour, working class Americans, people, young mothers, that sort of thing. And obviously you want a diversity of different voices there. But what we don't want is, no disrespect intended, university professors, lawyer types, politician types, and what have you. Not that they're not necessarily useful, but in this particular project, what we're trying to do is to promote ordinary people so that when ordinary people see them, there's a basic psychological argument or phenomenon here is when you see someone who's like you talking about the climate crisis, you're not so much going to listen to the climate crisis, you're going to go, oh, that's someone like me, and that person is concerned about climate crisis, so will I will be concerned as well. It sounds a bit weird, but that's basically how most human beings work. So that's the argument to make. And the second element of that, of course, is that because they're normal people, they use normal words. So as you can see, hopefully from this presentation, I could, I'm doing a PhD in civil disputes, as some of you might know. So I can make this a PhD talk. I can talk about discourse and social space and all these posh words that you can use in universities. I happen to be very good at it, but I'm not doing that in this video because what's the point, right? The point is to talk in plain language to ordinary people. All right, so that also translates as a final point, is to making the argument when people are making leaflets or posters or creating press releases or writing on websites, all the written material. The argument has to be, you need to check with a few people to make sure this actually makes sense to the ordinary American. So again, the most important things here is the talking plain Anglo-Saxon language, right? So if you think of a posh word like discourse, like, you don't need to use that, you can use talking. Or if you are going to use a complicated word, which sometimes is useful because, it's useful to have, there's always an inevitable amount of jargon, but if there is a jargon, then explain it. So you might say, we're going to, engage in direct action. Well, maybe people understand that, maybe that, which means sitting in the road until you're arrested. Do you see what I mean? So people go, oh, right, that's concretely what that person means. And the same last little point here, which is a bit of a minor point, but it's pretty irritating, is if you're going to use acronyms, like NVDA, always explain them, nonviolent direct action, because it's just really annoying, as we all know, when you read stuff and it's got loads of these acronyms in. All right.